If you're new here, this is a 16-part series on coercive control and psychological abuse as seen by Claire Murphy's research. In this video, we're going to be discussing tactic number 1, one-sided power games. Again, if you want to read these articles in their entirety, go to the link in my bio and search there for coercive control. Let's get into this. So one of the things that I like most about these articles is she's actually went and interviewed couples, real life couples, to break these control tactics down. She asked several men that she studied if there were to be an unwritten contract about marriage, what would it say? Bill says the unwritten contract would say, I can do what I want, but you got to do what I tell you. That's the way I see 90% of marriages from a man's point of view. James says most guys would like their wife or partner to be subservient to them and be agreeable with the ideas of the husband. Another one says the man should have the final financial decision and the final direction for the family. That's by Brendan. What's interesting to me about the very start of this article is that the same thing is literally broken down in 3 different ways. All 3 of these men are saying the exact same thing. Bill says it like a savage, okay? But it's crazy is when we get to James and Brendan, and they're saying things in a way that we've heard this before. Like, they're not saying, hey, I'm going to control you and I'm going to take away all your rights and I'm going to, make sure that what I say goes like Bill does. But they're saying that, most guys want their women to be agreeable with the ideals of the husband. Brendan says, have the final financial decision and the final direction for the family. And for a lot of you, especially if you grew up in Christian homes, that right there is going to sound very familiar. Like, we're literally taught in church how to make ourselves agreeable and amenable to this situation. How to let our husbands make all the rules, make all the big decisions, and have the last word, and essentially be ruler or king of the castle. Further down, as women are giving their accounts of being married to these same men that gave those quotes at the beginning of the article, one of them says he expects the beer there and the meal on the table. When this expectation is not met, men say they feel disrespected as a man, that the failure of the woman to carry out her feminine role hurts a man's pride. I think one thing that keeps us as women burdened to a lot of these really silly responsibilities, like, serving a plate first, or, making sure that you're carrying the load when it comes to the mental load or the laundry or cooking or having a meal prepared. Even though we know a lot of times that doesn't always make sense in every situation, i.e. the viral video of the surgeon who just got off of a 13-hour shift and now she's come home, hasn't even taken a shower yet, and is cooking dinner for her husband in nasty scrubs. Even though those scenarios make very little sense at all, we get roped into doing those responsibilities because if not, that's a literal strike against your husband's manhood. And it prevents us from looking at the total picture, especially when it comes to jobs and finances. As an adult, if you are a partner or in a partnership, if you are home before your partner, why wouldn't you cook dinner first? This one-sided power game or this control tactic is why you see a lot of women who are struggling managing the load on their own because their husband or their significant other just refuses to participate because it's a pride thing for them. And a lot of times they take this out on the children too. Elsie's husband, Leon, was jealous and aggressive towards his newborn baby. She recounts how from then on, there was a huge increase in abuse. All the attention had to be centered on him. He even yelled at the baby, who was a week old at the time, and told the baby to shut up. Here's one right here that we can really relate to. Wearing the mask of the master, he monopolizes the woman's time and energy. I've said this time and time again. It is not a coincidence. It's not by accident that you are doing all the household labor and doing the mental load. It's not that they're ignorant. It's a control tactic. If he is monopolizing your time by making you be the one that's responsible for all the free labor, he knows that your options and your resources are limited. They only go through him. One of the wives, Karen, said that eventually it worked out that I was doing all the girly jobs and he was doing the boy jobs. But then I was doing the girly jobs and the boy jobs. Susan said that her husband took no responsibility for fathering or household duties, and he told people that he had a lazy wife. Come on, I know somebody recognizes this. Yet Susan was overburdened with responsibility, which included being in charge of the finances, which he continuously sabotaged. There's been a ton of videos and content made here lately about coercive control when it comes to SMECs. Here, Teresa said that if she disagreed with Patrick or said no, he would get really angry, nasty, and sulk for days. Does this sound familiar to you? What about when a partner shuts down any conversation that you decide to want to have about the relationship itself? Maybe something that you're feeling uncomfortable about. This is also a one-sided power game. Karen's partner, Felix, would pull a blanket over his head and hum when Karen wanted to communicate. Pauline's husband always avoided talking about issues. He never raised his voice or got angry. He just avoided it altogether. How about this? Maybe this sounds familiar. Sally said that because her husband would not take responsibilities for his behaviors, she would get angry in an attempt to be heard and to resolve issues. But then he would say the problem in the relationship was her anger. Like the status and follow for tactic number 2.